Today we're going to be talking about the elements of poetry. The first element of poetry we want to talk about is the structure of the poem. First, poems are made up of lines. Each one of these is a line. Lines are make up what are called stanzas. Which are groups of lines. Stanzas are made up of what are called line breaks. So instead of a paragraph being indented to show where it starts, they have line breaks to show where they start. So this would be a stanza. This would be you guessed it, line break. And this would be another stanza. Now, some things to know. This is the title of the poem. And this is something that's a little different than in regular literature. The author is down at the bottom. Sometimes this will also say something like author unknown. But the author of this particular poem is X.J. Kennedy. Next, let's talk about the rhyme scheme. So if you remember, words that rhyme are words that have the same ending sound. So in poetry, we look at the final words in the line. So we can say deep, keep. Deep and keep rhyme. Keep submarines. They do not rhyme. Keep, sleep. Those rhyme. So the rhyme scheme of this stanza would be A, B, A. Let's check out the next paragraph. It says core, more. Those two rhyme. More, miles. Do they rhyme? No, those do not rhyme. So let's check the next one. More, floor. More and floor rhyme. This follows the same rhyme scheme as the pattern as the stanza before of A, B, A. Let's check the last paragraph, stanza. Let's check the last stanza. It says show, row. Show and row rhyme. Row, two. They do not rhyme. Show, row, no. They rhyme. So all three of these stanzas follow the A, B, A rhyme scheme. Next, let's see if there is a rhythm or a beat. In all the oceans, nowhere else so deep, so dark with secrets, men won't let it keep. It yields to human eyes in submarines, and then, full of itself, goes back to sleep. You wouldn't dream that hidden at its core, life would go on as it has done for more than most of time, though 7 heavy miles of water pressed down upon it floor. To fathom it at last, to put on show all that it holds laid out in a neat row, may happen sooner than that to do that too, the mind of someone whom you think you know. So this one does not really have a rhythm to it. Let's see. The next thing we're going to talk about is the imagery. Before we do that, I'm going to add rhythm down here. I'm going to say rhythm equals the beat. Okay. And I'm going to back, and these are, I'm put rhyme here. So now let's look at imagery. In all the oceans, nowhere else so deep. So in my head, I'm picturing the ocean. So dark with secrets, men won't let it keep. So I'm thinking of the midnight zone here because I close my eyes and I see total darkness. It yields to human eyes in submarines. Okay, so now I see a submarine floating in the darkness, and then, full of itself, goes back to sleep. You wouldn't dream that hidden at its core, life would go on as it has done for more than most of time, those 7 heavy miles of water pressed down upon its floor. So I'm thinking about how deep down we are. We're 7 miles down, and it's heavy pressure. To fathom it at last, to put on show all that it holds laid out in a neat row because it's a trench, may happen sooner than to do that to the mind of someone whom you think you know. So if I was going to draw a picture of this, I would see the darkness, I would see a submarine deep down, and I would not see very many people there. So that would be the imagery. Did we hear any alliteration? Remember, alliteration is where it has the same beginning sound. I don't hear any alliteration, but I'm going to put that here for you. And that's the same beginning sound. And we can remember that imagery is the picture in our mind. We just talked about that. So now let's talk about onomatopoeia. Do we hear any sound words? Nope, I didn't think so. So onomatopoeia. Remember, those are sound words like crash, boom, clang. And the last thing we're going to talk about is repetition. And repetition, if you remember that we've talked about, is when things repeat.
I saw a white call of the humans today.
And those are the elements of poetry.